Welcome to The Drive with your automotive experts and hosts, Lauren Fix and Karl Brauer. Each week we deliver the latest breaking news, vehicle reviews, and inside look at what's happening in the automotive world. Buckle up. It's time to hit the road with The Drive.
Welcome to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. I am Lauren Fix with my wonderful co-host, Karl Brauer.
Hello, Lauren. Great to be on with you again.
Yes, we have a very exciting show. We have a very special guest coming in the second half hour. You want to stay for this because he's going to talk about a really cool car that you may or may not know about. And if you're a car junkie like Karl and I, you're going to want to hear this story. We'll also be discussing kill switches coming to cars. Even though Congress said they were going to stop it, and they could have stopped it, they didn't. And Karl's going to get his frustration out on the per mile taxes happening in California. And we'll also talk about Massachusetts limiting your driving, as well as used car dealers selling salvage title cars at car dealers, I'm shocked to say, and why that's potentially scary. And Karl will talk to us about the IC Car's latest study on the most reliable new cars for the money and some vehicle test cars that we've been driving lately. Karl, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like I don't want to talk to people about the weather out here in California because I don't want them to like throw things at me. But you have been back there, I think, in some of the most brutal conditions, Lauren. It sounds really, really bad, but
Buffalo.
it's everywhere. There's people I was hearing from people in Florida, like in Miami and Daytona, said they were cold too. So
yeah. Well, I'm in Buffalo, and this coming weekend, depending on when you're listening to this, but the first full weekend in February, we are talking about an air temperature of like 5 with a wind chill of minus 30. So you can tell if you're watching the video, which you can watch on our YouTube channel, The Drive Car Show, I am wearing multiple layers. I'm trying to stay warm. I don't think I pulled this many sweatshirts out in a long time. But Florida, where our guest from previous show, the last show, Al Vasquez, was saying it's like 50 degrees in Miami. That's like ridiculous.
yeah, that's cold for down there, and it's interesting. I always want to remind people that, remember, when it's cold where it's not supposed to be cold, for some reason it feels even colder. I don't know if it's brain psychology. I don't know if it's the insulation on the houses, the clothing. One of the coldest I've ever felt was when Acura hosted me at the 24 Hours of Daytona several years ago. And it was like, and this, by the way, it happens at the timing of the 24 Hours of Daytona. It's very commonly very cold during that, even in Florida where it's happening. And I'll never forget, like they shuttled us over to the stadium or to the track, and then they got us out of the car, and then we had to walk a ways to get to like the tower. There you go up to the suite, and I'm walking. I can still distinctly remember it clearly. 8 years later, and all. It's like this is like the coldest I've ever felt, because sometimes I think it's the humidity. Remember, it's humid. So I grew up in Denver, and I always tell people,
didn't you grow up in Colorado? You should be used to cold weather.
Yeah, but not humid cold weather. See, and that's what I tell people is in Colorado, I make the joke, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I make the joke that it's like between like 61 and like 85, it doesn't feel that different in Colorado. And it's true because you're at higher altitude, you've got less atmosphere in general, and the atmosphere that's there is super dry. And water emphasizes everything. As you know, if it's hot and it's humid, it feels hotter. And if it's cold and it's humid, it feels colder. So
like
when
the
it's
dry heat of Arizona
Florida,
when it's 105 and people, it's
exactly. And it's not quite as bad. It's still pretty bad at 105, but it's not as bad as 105 in Florida, as you know. 105 in Florida is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Atlanta, where your hair turns into a frizz.
Huntsville, Alabama. I hear these nightmare stories about what the humidity's like, and then you combine it with like 80, 90, 100-degree weather. You don't want to do that.
You're hitting all of our local stations, or the local affiliates, and we do appreciate your support. Hey, we're in Peoria, Illinois, St. Louis, Buffalo, New York, and of course, Los Angeles. We're everywhere. So make sure to tell your friends to listen to the show. And we talk about everything cars and lifestyle of that, and some cool things. And of course, we'll be coming up and soon talking about some things that are going to impact you. I know, Karl, you've been covering a lot of different stories as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cool topics that we're going to talk about. Everything from the most reliable new cars for the money, which is a pretty cool concept that we've come up with. We split the data and help you figure out not only what car you can buy for cheap, but what car will give you the longest lifespan after you pay it while paying the most or paying the least up front. You think about it just as a basic thing. If you buy a new car for $30,000 and it lasts 15 years, that's $2,000 a year that it's costing you. But if the average new car is like $47,000 and it's got a lifespan of around 7 or 8 years, now you've just doubled that number. So we kind of dive into that and tell you some specific cars to get. But let's start to get into. We're going to get into it more in the next segment. But what we're going to talk about next is per mile taxes, driving taxes.
Oh,
And this idea is that
this is bad.
it rubs me the wrong way on so many levels, Lauren, whether it's the fact that it's another tax, which just proves that states like California and Massachusetts, considering this too,
New York, New
don't know how to
Jersey.
spend what the, these guys already are blowing too much money and now they want more money. But then they're tracking how far you're driving. How are they going to tax you per mile unless they know when and where you're driving every mile? So that gets into a whole nother thing.
Well,
So
they've already got plans for that. And believe me,
yeah,
they already know, not just by phone, your center stack in your car, your
yeah,
insurance knows.
yeah.
It's
No.
already a known factor. Big data.
And then you throw it in with kill switches, which we'll be talking about too this episode. So we're going to come back after a break, and we are going to dive into all this for this episode of The Drive with Lauren and Karl. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and this segment is brought to you by IC Cars at iccars.com. We've got not only all the listings that you could ever want to see for cars, local, national, and anywhere in between, but also all the advice based on a lot of data that we crunched to help you figure out what car to buy next. We're going to talk about some of it later in the show as far as the most reliable new cars for the money. Now, Lauren, we were talking before the break about a per mile tax, and this is the latest. I'll just
Go
call
for
it
it, Karl. You want to vent.
It's the latest money grab from the state of California, but they're not alone. A lot of states are considering this, as you know. And the idea just being that, well, if you drive, we're going to charge you a tax based on per mile driving. And according to people who've looked into this more closely than I have, they're guessing that a family of four could easily be between $1,200 and $4,200 additional taxes per year. Can you imagine that?
4,200?
4,200. That's, I mean, if it was $300 a month, that'd be $3,600 a year. So
Wow.
that's right in between, it's on the high end between 12 and 42. But the bottom line is you're talking thousands of dollars a year, hundreds of dollars a month. It's like another utility bill that you're going to have to pay.
On top of the taxes, taxes if you have fuel?
Yeah, right. Don't forget, California has the highest gas taxes in the country, as we know. Their fuel prices out here are always substantially like $1 to $2 higher than most other states because of how much they're taxing. They're not reducing the California gas tax to replace it with the per mile tax. Wow. They're just adding it on, as is always the case with taxes. So, Lauren, part of me thinks about the fact that once upon a time, there were a bunch of guys who dressed up as Indians and dumped over a bunch of tea because of how ridiculous the taxes were getting from a certain country on the other side of the Atlantic. And then we decided not to put up with that anymore and became our own country.
And then we got taxed on literally everything instead.
Yeah, now we're getting taxed on per mile driving after we get taxed on dying and taxed on buying anything and taxed for owning property and everything else. It's really bad. And of course, none of it represents what is necessary to run this country efficiently. It represents what is necessary to keep completely greedy, inefficient politicians swimming in money and enriching themselves.
Exactly. Mind you, we didn't have taxes until 1913.
No income tax.
1913,
no
there was no
tax.
income tax.
Yep.
So you would have maybe a use tax depending upon what city you lived in. But then they realized we need more money because previous to 1913, we were using tariff money, and that would cover everything. As a matter of fact, there was so much money left over.
There was excess money.
They had excess cash. They had groups of people, blue ribbon committees that would say, hey, Karl, what do we need? We need to put up a church, or we need to put up a hospital, or we need to put up a school, or we need to create
better roads.
Better roads, better services for people in the community. But that all went out the window when we started taxing everyone. And now we're bringing all this tariff money in. So I'm kind of curious how this will unfold. And I won't get into the political side. There's a million shows you can watch or listen to on that. But still something worth your time if you want to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but forget all the politics. This is a functional cash flow issue that you're going to be facing. You're going to be spending hundreds of dollars a month, thousands of dollars a year if you want to drive in a state like California or Massachusetts. They're like on the cusp of wanting to put this in place. Yeah.
Massachusetts has a Senate bill that's being voted on as we chit chat here, where they're going to limit the miles you can drive. So how do you do that? What if you got to take your mom to the doctor and you take her, once a week or whatever it might be, or your wife because she's pregnant or whatever it might be? I'm sorry, you're over mileage, so we're going to charge you a tax not based on just mileage, but based on climate impact. So how do
Yeah.
you calculate that? You know that some politician will come in and calculate that. That's absurd. So now you've got a limit. What if you're an Uber driver? What if you deliver Uber Eats? What, or any of those type of services? I mean, are police officers, firemen, first responders, emergency people, are they excluded, or are just politicians excluded?
Well, they're always excluded. And don't
Yes,
forget that, as with most taxes, Lauren, just like inflation and things like minimum wage that raise the cost of things, who do they hurt the most? The lower income people. Who are the
absolutely.
people most likely who have to commute a long distance? People who can't afford to live near where their place of work is, right? They
Right.
might
That's
work.
true.
I know there's a whole lot of people in Southern California that work in Orange County or work in LA County, but they live in Riverside County, or they live in, Kern County, or they have to live a whole county away because of how expensive real estate is out here. So the people who are the least able to afford life in California typically have to drive the furthest to try to afford it. They're going to be charged the most for a per mile tax. So
And it's not
once
just
again,
California. That's other states. It's Colorado, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New
mhm,
Jersey, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, all the Northeast states. So, and if you're in a state that you're not getting taxed for this, don't worry. They're watching. They're doing
yeah,
studies on this. This is the word the clue word is study. So if you hear them talking about that, you need to talk to your elected politicians and say, we don't want this. Because if you don't speak up about it, soon you'll be the next California, because they're always setting the pace, but they're not alone when Massachusetts wants to limit your driving. And don't worry, they already know what your mileage is. Let's
yeah,
pop this
they'll
into
figure it out.
neutral and take a break to pay some bills, and we'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Car Coach Reports. Don't get tricked by the information that you may hear on mainstream media. Do your homework in advance. We cover all the news, everything from kill switches to gas mileage, taxes, and things that you may not know about. Just check out Car Coach Reports on YouTube. And if you want to check out Lauren, that's me. If you want to check out my car reviews, they're on Car Smarts. Okay, Karl, we were talking about mileage and charging, but how would they know that? How would they know how many miles you drive? But then again, what other information do they know about you? And how are they going to limit where you can drive, how you can drive? There's a lot of questions that I'm sure our listeners have.
Yeah, to me, the first thing, like I said, that comes to my mind after the more money that they're taking from us is, how are you knowing, how are you going to know how far I drive? What do we fill out a log and send it in? Do they have to validate it somehow? And if they're going to be like somehow utilizing the car's capability to do it themselves, that's not going to work on older cars. Okay. And so what are they going
True.
to like issue us some kind of I mean, think about it, Lauren. I got a 1988 Firebird in my household that my daughter drives. I
Mhm.
got a 2002 BMW 330 Ci. My son's got a 2004 325 Xi sedan. These do not have any form of satellite recording or communications.
Mhm.
But I'm betting if California's going to do this, they're not going to just write off the fact, well, everything before like 2015 or 2010 or 2005, we just won't track. And no,
Yeah.
because first of all, everyone would just buy all those old cars to avoid the tax. And second of all, they'd be giving up a bunch of money from people who have those. So I'm assuming we will all be getting issued something like, they have it
The
right now,
inspection.
they have these toll things where you put them in your windshield and then it automatically trips the toll when you drive through. So they'll just extend that to like, well, we're just going to see how much the car moves and calculate mileage by how much the car's
You'd
moving
have
around.
to
Now,
have
once
side roads and everything. I mean, what if you took all back roads and you didn't take highways? I know California's a little
No,
different.
I'm saying it'll be like a GPS tracker. They'll just track how much where the car's moving at all times, and every time it moves, they'll be like, the car moved around this much. That equates to this many miles. This is how much you owe. But this is only one component of your tracking, right, Lauren? You've really kind of broken this open and had it talked about on various shows, even mainstream shows, about a whole nother aspect that plays right into this. Because if they decide you've driven too far and you're not paying your bill well enough or your taxes, what else could they do?
Well, that would be remote kill switches. Now you may think, right, they're going to remotely kill my car. Well, they can, because under the 2021 infrastructure bill, and we've covered this on previous shows, there is something under section 24220. You can look it up if you feel like doing that. It's the 2021 infrastructure bill, section 24220. It is called the kill switch law, and it is in place. And the Senate had a chance, both the House and the Senate had a chance to strip it from the bill, but they didn't. And this is the second time just came up, and Thomas Massey and a bunch of other senators and House of Representatives tried to get it removed, including AOC, didn't like it because nobody wants to be tracked. But what's in this car is the ability, they put it under the guise of drunk driving. All right, let's be honest. Nobody wants a drunk driver on the street, period. That's a fact. And Karl and I both agree on that. However, they can make the assessment of the assumption, the car can, by its software, if it feels that you're under the influence of something. Maybe you were taking paint off a paintbrush and you're a first responder and you need to go to a call. And I'm sure there's a million scenarios which you can put in our Car Coach Reports YouTube channel. Put it in the comments because we want to hear your feedback for sure. And you can also watch the video version of this. But think about the fact you have to go, whatever it is, fill in the blank. Your kids need you, your mom needs you, your grandma needs you, somebody needs you. And you get in the car and it senses your anxiety. It can smell alcohol, even if it's from rubbing alcohol. It can do all kinds of things and sense that you are under the influence or stressed by something. And you press the start button and it doesn't start. And now you're thinking, what's wrong with my car? And you keep trying and it won't let you. And that is what is in place. This is a law. This will be starting in 2027 models. It was supposed to start in 2026, but much of that technology is already in 2026 cars. Actually, they've been in since 2024 cars. So it tracks your eyes. We've all seen that. You may need a coffee break. You may need to take a break. All of that is tracking your eyes. And then, of course, the touch to the steering wheel. And then, of course, all those center screens, much like your phone, listen to everything. And if it feels that you're under influence of something, stressed by something, and your car doesn't start, you can't call the police and say, hey, I just talked to a New York State trooper who said, we are afraid of this is going to be a nightmare because the local dealer can't help you, the manufacturer can't help you. It is 100% decided by the software of your vehicle. And how long does it take to get out of kill switch jail? Nobody knows. And I'll be tracking the money on this because there's money in this. And right now I've found $45 million going to NGOs. And we're going to find out who's getting the money. I wonder if it's insurance companies or some other company.
Well, the concept that you could try to be driving somewhere or you're already driving somewhere. And like you said, I've seen it where, there's no cars around me. And so I'm not being as careful and all. Maybe I am, looking. I've got all this space in front of me. I'm on a back road where no one's around and all, and I haven't been quite as disciplined on keeping in my lane. And I've corrected a couple times on my steering. And I get you need a coffee break. It's like, yeah, I'm totally fine, but yeah, I know what you're saying and all. Well, if in this Bill's situation now, it would be saying, you appear to be under the influence, we're going to turn the car off. You might as well pull the car over. You have 30 seconds to get the car off the road, but even if you don't, we're stopping the car and stuff like that. This is what it's going to do. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, you think about all the things that could play into this, whether you've got fumes that have nothing to do with you ingesting alcohol. Maybe you had a friend that you just had to drive home, or maybe they're in the passenger seat and all. And it's like, well, we're picking up fumes and, your friend keeps distracting you, is drunk and all. And you're like, yeah, well, I got to get you to your house and drop you off. And they're like, yeah, we don't like the way this smells. We don't like the way you're driving. We're shutting down the car. It's a scary concept.
It is. And after the break, we're going to have in just a second, we have a very special guest with a very special car story.
All right. We'll be back to talk about that on The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl, and a bit of a blast from the past this segment. We are also bringing back this guy. Some of you may have heard of him before. He's been around off and on this show, I guess, for the past 32 years. Alan Taylor has joined us again. He is, kind of crawling out of the back seat and looking over the headrest into the front. What the heck's going on here? I've been asleep for a while.
I think I have a button for this. Hey, there we go. The audience comes alive. Oh, how you doing, guy? Listen, you've been doing a great job on the show. My friends like the show, which is so important. I got to tell you, because I'm like, okay, well, let's now. The litmus test is, do my friends like the show? And you guys are my friends, but you know how friends can be. They're very honest. So I saw my friend. I said, so how do you like the show? And he goes, after you left, it took me a few minutes. He goes, but they're really getting the hang of it now. He goes, I enjoy it. And I'm thinking, he was the one that would have said, these guys are idiots. If that was the case. Yeah.
Anyway, well, I'm glad it's not.
No, I wouldn't have put you in charge if it was, you guys. Seriously. You're the two of the best.
Well, that's good to hear. No, you're right. The friends will give you the unvarnished truth.
That's
so,
right.
Glad to hear that the unvarnished truth is something that we want to hear. So that's good.
I would tell you either way, just so you know I would, right?
Yeah, you would too.
You would tell us. You would text or call us and just rip us if we were doing something foolish. But we're taking you. We took your footsteps. We followed them and trying to bring some of the same guests on and brought some new guests on as well. So it's been great and excellent feedback from our wonderful audience. And you can always give us your commentary on our social media at The Drive Car Show. And of course, in the comments on our YouTube channel, The Drive Car Show.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I got a question. Has either one of you yet driven the Mustang GTD?
No. They offered me to buy one.
Yeah.
But Karl has a 3-letter acronym that goes along with GTD.
Yeah, you don't want to get. We don't want to go down the Karl Brauer Mustang GTD thing. Okay,
no, please.
It's the gross tonnage debacle. Okay, that car is just a boat anchor. Alan, it weighs more than our Dodge Demons weigh. Okay, our Dodge Demons weigh 4,200 pounds, and these things weigh 4,300 pounds. And I'm sorry, but I have a philosophical issue with a car that is supposed to go around corners fast and weighs well over 2 tons. I just
wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on a second.
Well, I didn't buy one.
This, by the way, does the 7-minute lap at the Nürburgring.
With a professional driver throwing it into corners.
One time.
That was me, by the way.
Throwing it into corners. Because it's so heavy, you have to literally throw it in a corner.
And again, physics is physics, Alan. I know we can bend them, but we can't break those rules. And
I'll tell you what. Okay, first of all, let me just read. I want to read something to you here. This is Craig Jackson from Barrett Jackson.
Of course, he has one. Yeah.
He's getting ready to. It says, excited to take delivery of my new 2025 Ford Mustang GTD liquid carbon series. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Yeah, the all carbon fiber body. Yeah.
Now that may have made a difference. I'm going to have to ask about that. It says, can't wait to drive it.
No, that's just paint, Alan. That's just the paint. It's the same exact car with paint.
Well, wait a minute. We're going to find out. It says, I can't wait to drive it around Montana, no speed limit.
He's registering it there to save on the taxes. Let's be honest.
Okay, and the speed limit thing. Once the roads are warm, built to achieve a less than 7-minute lap at the Nürburgring. This car is something truly special. Only 4 liquid carbon series GTDs were produced in 2025.
There is a reason.
Why?
Because they were a special run, and they contacted everyone, including me, and asked me if I wanted one. So if I had bought one, there would be 5, which means, here's the truth. They sold 4.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Because the price is higher. That's what no one's saying.
And I'm incredibly grateful to Ford Motor Company and Ford Racing for the opportunity to take delivery of this unbelievable road machine. And I got to tell you, it is awesome looking. And I guess for the next 2 years, I will be proving you guys wrong.
Well, he has to own it for 2 years because that's the agreement you sign when you buy one, much like that of a GT.
I just signed it the other day. Just so you know.
One?
Yes.
So you're gonna get one, Alan?
Yeah. One of the 4 carbon ones.
Are you gonna get the carbon series one or what?
Yes.
It'll be a fun street car. You're probably never gonna put it on track.
Alan, let's be honest. Let's be honest. You're getting a limited production car, and you know you're safe if you want to sell it because it's rare and limited. So you're safe no matter what you do. So let's just put all the cards on the table here. You're not buying this car because you're going to plan a 7-minute lap time, and how many miles are you going to put on it? Then you're going to flip it for money. Let's be all honest and upfront.
First of all, let me tell you, I will be honest. I have been, and Karl and both Lauren, you guys, we've all talked about this. We are amongst the lucky ones that we have these relationships. And so when they have these oddball cars, yes, it's a lot of money. But when I bought my Viper 1-of-1 GT, I was going to call it a GTD. What is the one I got? I can't remember.
ACR.
Yeah. See, my brain is all GTD. I bought the ACR 1-of-1. And I ordered it, and everybody says, you're crazy. Karl, did anybody tell you you're crazy when you first got your first GT, Ford GT?
A certain amount of people did.
I didn't. I had an early GT as well, and they were all like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
And
but
much
it
like
was
the
No,
also,
2017
you're
GT, I
crazy.
still own.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but
I'm not
well,
selling
and
it.
again, we are amongst the lucky ones.
Yes.
But everybody told Carl he was crazy. And as I remember, he sold it for, I think, almost 3 times what he paid for it after
But
putting
you
how many
ton of
40,000
miles
miles.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, after I
So
had a heck of a lot of fun in it, I sold it for a nice, healthy profit. But that car, remember, here's my thing. This is the bottom line, and this is an ugly truth. The original Ford GT 0506 cost less than the European competition and performed better. The Mustang GTD costs more than a 911 GT3 and
That's what I want.
performs
Yeah.
worse. This is the problem.
well, you got your little cute Porsche German car, and you
I still have my GT. We all
They're
own,
gonna
we
have a
all
race.
own Demon 707s. We all had the Demon, the last call, the last everything. And
Yeah.
only Karl still owns his.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
okay.
because I wanted to have something lighter than the new Mustang race car.
Do you know what? Listen, have you looked at me? I'm a rotund man. I'm rotund. So I like a heavy car. Okay. I'm just saying it like that. But I will tell you, I know we got a commercial break coming up, but I don't know that they'll ever make anything like this again. And I just thought, I'm going to throw in my hat. And I found out through Craig Jackson that I'm one of 4.
That's
And I
awesome.
think that is just cool. So I get it next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Will you post
Yeah.
pictures
Wow.
so that we can see it and we'll put it up
Heck
on our
yeah.
channel? I want
Hey,
to
I'll
see
fly.
it.
I'll fly
talk
up there
to you
and
after
drive it around and see
Come
if I
on,
Yeah,
change
we'll
my
drive
mind.
it for you. We'll
Come on.
exercise it.
Yes. I'll
All
see
right.
if it can change my mind. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We got to pay some bills, as they say, but we will come right back with more Lauren and Karl and Alan and his new gross tonnage his new Mustang GT. It's going to be great. All right, we will be right back.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Issy Tire Socks. If you're slipping on ice, and trust me, I live in Buffalo, it is bad out there. And if you're on all-season tires, this is the answer. Put on some Issy Tire Socks. Get rid of the stress. No fuss. Just traction that works. They go on very easily, literally 1 minute per side. They're available now at Amazon and Walmart. They're called Issy Tire Socks. It's really Issy, I-S-S-E, really Issy. Okay, Alan, you have a history that people may not know about. You used to own a salvage yard.
I did.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I started with Car and Driver magazine, Chubba Chetta at the time was the editor in chief, and he wrote an article about how their new radio guy, because this show used to be Car and Driver Radio for a while, about 10 years. He said, our new radio guy has junkyard dogs in his history or something like this. And he told the whole story. And listen, I always loved wrecking yards. When I was a kid and I would go somewhere with somebody that went to a wrecking yard, and then when I was a teenager and started with cars, they're just magical places because you look at all these cars and you think of all the stories of how the accidents happen. And when I was 24 years old, I saw on the news a guy that was being arrested for drug trafficking through this wrecking yard, Ace Auto Parts. Sounds the part, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I went up there. I thought, oh no, the wrecking yard. He's going to be, closing it down. So I went up there the next day. I was 24 years old. And there he was. And I said, hey, man, what's the story? I saw you on the news. He goes, yeah, well, 3 strikes and you're out. So the next thing I know, I said, well, what are you going to do? And he says, I'm going to crush all the cars and close it down. And I made a deal with him and I bought the wrecking yard. I bought the crushed cars for $5,000. And my life began a whole other path. You know what I mean? But what's
That's
the question
cool.
about salvage? I know a lot about it.
Okay, so a lot of car dealers are saying we're having a shortage of used cars. We need more
Mhm.
reasonably priced cars. So apparently, many car dealers are considering salvage title cars as a way to offer lower cost vehicles. And this is obviously going to be repair costs that they're going to have to take in. And who knows what brands they'll buy. You've got technical service bulletins, you've got recalls, you've got potentially flood damage cars. How are they going to address this? Because usually when a title says salvage, it decreases the value, and you have to disclose this to customers, which makes me fear that the salesperson will be like, oh, no, there's nothing wrong with this, because we've all been there. We've all been there. But should you buy a vehicle that's been on a salvage title, even if it's from an actual car dealer?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was always the guy that I wanted to buy it damaged.
Mhm.
And I know Karl, one of his cars was damaged and now has a salvage title, but he knows the damage. Weren't you driving the car, Carl?
Yeah, I got T-boned in a parking lot and
Right.
had to, yeah. And so I know exactly why the car has a salvage title. And I think what you're
Yeah.
going to say, Alan, or what I'm guessing is a salvage title is an absolute red flag. But if you can paint that flag green if you know why it's got the salvage title. And a lot of times cars have salvage titles for not justified reasons. A lot of times they have
Right.
salvage titles for really scary justified reasons, and you want to run as far as you can as soon as you hear about it. And flood is a good example, as Lauren mentioned, because it's insidious. It rots the interior of the car, it rots the wiring, and you think everything's fine, and then
Airbags
check engine
don't
lights
deploy.
and sensors start coming on all the time and all, and it's like, what's wrong with this car? It just keeps having problems because it's essentially got a cancer that's never going to go away because it got flooded once. That's a reason to run.
I said it was AIDS. The car has AIDS. Flood car.
Well,
it's not good.
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
the problem is your factory warranty, including rust-through protection, is out the window. You cannot go back to the manufacturer of any brand and say, I want to put this, get a technical service bulletin or recall. It's not covered. You're on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own.
That's a major factor, which is why I always tell people, you're buying a used car, take it to an ASE certified technician, pay the $150, have them put it on the lift, and look at everything, including under the fuse box. And that's when you're going to find out what the car really is.
And the other thing you can do is you could Google the serial number, which will also give you a lot of information. There's lots of ways to find out if a car's ever been salvaged, totaled, wrecked.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, I own a car right now that has a salvage title, but I bought it damaged. And what happened was somebody stole it. It was a pickup truck, what was this? A GMC SLE crew cab, 4-wheel drive diesel. Somebody stole the truck, and it was a recovered theft, and it had some dents and damage on it, but nothing bad. But it was recovered theft, so they already paid the guy off. It had to have a salvage title. I was fine with that. I looked it over. I inspected it. I put a fender and a headlight and a tail light on it and painted the side of the truck. No big deal. But when I go sell it, I also have pictures of what it looked like while we were repairing it. There's a way to do it, but I think for the average person, it's not a great idea.
Right.
I sold thousands of salvage cars in my early years, 30, 35 years ago. I used to sell 100 cars a month, but I would sell them damaged to people. And then I had a body shop and we'd fix it for it at the building next door. So it was, that's how I did it.
You got a lot of people into really inexpensive cars they probably otherwise couldn't have afforded, and they were thrilled to get those cars.
Cars are different today. Cars are completely different. I mean, we restore cars of the 60s, and we'll buy an old Mustang that is even in a hurricane. I don't care, because we're going to strip it down to raw metal. We're going to fix the body panels. We're going to repair
old cars,
do everything. But when you're talking about a car in the 2010s and newer, you're talking about process. Anything after 2019 has got so many processors,
sensors and wires.
Nightmare. I mean, the regular cars are nightmares. Then add salvage or flood damage or something to it. It's not worth it anymore. That's why I got out of that business. I love you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Are you gonna go back? You're gonna go back to sleep in the back seat?
Yeah, I'll go back to sleep.
Thank you for joining us, Alan. It's always fun having you on. You remind us of the personality of the show, and we are so glad that we were able to carry on your tradition on the drive with Lauren and Karl versus the drive with Alan Taylor. You notice we did change it, so it doesn't have your name.
I love you guys. You're both experts, and I never was. You guys outdid me, so keep it up.
Well, thank you,
Alan. You have a great time. We'll have you on again soon. You take care of yourself.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the drive with Lauren and Karl, and we really appreciate Alan being on with us. He handed the show off to us, and we are so glad that we get to keep doing what he was doing for years. This segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars. That's my YouTube channel. You probably figured that out, and it's got all the videos I'm putting up on all these vehicles I'm driving, including recent videos on the brand new Lamborghini Temerario and the Audi A6. Both of these are brand new vehicles. One's a redesign, and that Temerario is an all new vehicle. And plenty of other stuff there. Aston Martins, Nissan Leafs, anything and everything you'll find. Lauren, I want to talk about another interesting concept. And this is one that helps people not just save money, but hopefully maximize their personal transportation dollar. Mm-hmm. And this is where we get into the data that we use at IC Cars, where I'm the executive analyst. And what we did was we looked at the most reliable cars for the money. Now, how do you come up with that spec? How do you define the most reliable car for the money? Well, what you do is you look at what you pay for the vehicle, and you look at its predicted lifespan. And we have got so much data on so many cars that we can tell you with fairly high accuracy the predicted lifespan for both a new and a used vehicle. So the last two studies we did were the most reliable new cars for the money and most reliable used cars for the money. Let's jump into used first. That's our most recent one.
So you like
This is
5
1 to
and
5 year
10-year-olds?
old
Yeah.
used. Yeah, 5 and 10-year-old used cars. And what we do is we look at how much you're going to pay for them and how long they're predicted to last. As an example, the average 5-year-old used car costs $24,377, and it's predicted to last 7.4 years. That's the average 1 to 5-year-old used car. But that means if you bought the average used car, you would pay $3,310 per year of its remaining lifespan after you spent the $24,366. But if you buy a Honda Fit, it's got only an average price of $18,445, and it's got a expected lifespan of 10.9 years. You're paying less than the average 1 to 5-year-old used car, and you're lasting longer than the average 1 to 5-year-old used car. That means your per year cost for that car's remaining lifespan, $1,693, or
That's not
about
bad
half.
at all. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you told the average person, if you can spend $18,445, I'll get you a car with almost 11 years, 10.9 years of life left on it.
Wow.
I think the average person would be very excited by those numbers. And that's what this list is. And we have the top 24 5-year-old cars and the top 25 10-year-old cars. These are all cars that have higher than average. They're all higher than that average numbers we were saying as far as both cost per year and expected lifespan, all that stuff. So like the second car on the 5-year-old list is the Kia Rio 5-door.
But they don't make that anymore.
$12,900. Yeah, it's a used car, so you can't buy it new, but $12,977, and you'll get 6.6 years of predicted life out of it. That's still under $2,000 a year, $1,979. So, and then we broke it up by trucks and SUVs, and even hybrids and electrics. So you can jump in and look at all these different used vehicles and see which one you're going to get the most time left after you buy it and pay the least upfront to get that car with that most time left.
So let's cover the 10-year-old
cars.
The 10-year-old cars, I mean, a 10-year-old car would be like a 2015. I mean, I drive a 2016. So,
yeah.
I mean, mine's an SUV, but when you look at this, a 10-year-old car is not, I mean, it's funny because when we were kids, a 10-year-old car was like, oh, it's old. But that's not old anymore. And these numbers are really impressive what you can get value-wise. And I think that's why IC Cars is really a great resource.
Yeah, we really want people to figure out what fits their budget and their needs best. And that's what all our studies do. And this one, in this case, is exactly what we're talking about here. How do I spend the least and get the most life? How do I spend the least on a used car and have the longest remaining lifespan left? And interestingly, when you go to 10, you probably notice, you look at the list, the number one car, and this is not just hybrids and electrics, this is across all cars, was the Nissan Leaf, Lauren.
Wow.
Now, the reason it scored so well is because it's only got a predicted 5.1 year lifespan. You got things to worry about when you get to a 10-year-old car. And this is one of the shorter ones. A lot of these cars still have 7, 8, 10 years left, even at 10 years old. This one's only got 5.1 years left, but it only costs $56.75. The average price for a 1 to 5-year-old Nissan Leaf is $5,675. That means it's $1,108. So even if you told someone, this Leaf, it's only got 5.1 years of life left, but you can get one for $5,600.
That's amazing.
A lot
what blows me away?
Car buyers are gonna be like, I'll take it. Huh?
What blows me away? The Tesla Model S was number 8.
Yeah.
You can buy a used one as low as $16,000. Now they're not making them anymore, so that means everyone's going to be used. And as a 10-year life expectancy, you buy a 10-year-old car, it's got another 10 years of life on it. It's going to cost you $1,600, and you get to use the Tesla charging network. I'm not an electric car person. I mean, for me, I look at this list and I see things like Nissan Versa and Honda Civic, which makes like every list. But the Civic and vehicles like the Toyota Camry, those are kind of vehicles that people go, I get it. I got reliability, I have resale value, they're easy to work on, insurance is low. But electric cars, remember, the insurance might be higher too. And I don't know if that's calculated into these numbers.
Yeah, no, that's ownership costs. And this was strictly because that changes for everyone. So all we did was look at price and lifespan, because that's something that applies to all the cars equally.
Well, that's great. Another wonderful show with some great information. And if you want to see it and you just heard it or you want to see it again, you can check out our podcast. We're on all podcast platforms, The Drive with Lauren and Karl, or our YouTube channel, The Drive Car Show.
You've been listening to The Drive. your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.